Hello. Thanks for staying with us till the last minute and taking your flights really at the end of the day. I'm Chiara, Chief Design Officer at Frog, and it's a pleasure to close the day. I think we're closing the day with a speech that is connecting the topic of engagement to the angle of service and how we can leverage a service-driven model for driving increased engagement. I'll start my speech with two caveats. The first one is that I prepared the presentation before following the sessions, so we'll probably go a little bit unscripted in order to react to the various topics that has been shared today. The second one is that while I've been working in healthcare space for more than now 15 years, I'm not an insider. So you will be kind on me if I miss the right wording, and you can find me really at comfort into the space of user experience. I've been working in this space for 20 years, so behavioral design, journeys, product requirements is the things that are close to my heart, and we'll take this speech from this angle. I'm Chief Design Officer at Frog. Frog is a global creative consultancy firm. I've been deeply rooted with more than 50 years into the space of innovation, and the things that we do that people say that we're good at, recently Forrester, is really helping evolve product and service portfolios in order to create new value that is connecting business value with the user and the humanity value. And we do that by the early stages about identifying what is the value proposition, why something should even be done, even if it's possible. Is there a reason for that to exist? Turning that into experiences and business cases that justify the effort to bring it to reality, and then bridging the PowerPoints to the reality of going into the market. And so while I'm an expert or I've been working in healthcare, I want to start our story with a story that is a little bit more cross-market and cross-sector, which is this shift from content-driven engagement to service-driven engagement around products. This is an urgency or a necessity that all the different sectors, probably much earlier than pharma, are starting to embrace, capitalizing on the power of data in order to drive differentiating factors, create a reason why for being a preferred solution versus another one, and enabling the collection of novel set of data that are then in a positive effect, creating additional value. This is something that I'm sure you have all seen into your daily life. From some cases in which we really get to the edge of the gimmick, like beverage producers that are creating connected bottles to provide you recommendation on your hydration, where you could maybe question why, dear company, you want to help me into this space, to others in which we are really benefiting from this change. Think of your insurances that are starting to remind you when to check your tires, or if there is a storm that is planned to come so that you can protect your car. Up to your financial, whatever, banking that you might have that is providing personal financial management tools in a way that is enabling you to take better care of your money and for them to start collecting novel data for proposing and being more meaningful in the interaction they create with you. So it's about creating those services for generating more touch points, more moments of interactions. It's about creating those services for creating new data, better information about the customers, and increasing, sometimes it's about decreasing the cost of acquisition because of more drivers of preference, and in other cases about increasing the lifetime value. This is something that has been at the core of the transformation of the industry. Even the role of the chief marketing officer changed so much, shifting the focus from being just really on content and how you distribute information on all this new space that has completely different metrics. Why this is particularly important into the space of pharma today? We spoke this morning about the necessity of driving identifying new value drivers in a moment in which R&D costs are going up and the peak of sales are going down. But there is another significant shift that is critical to keep into consideration, which is a shift of KPI. We know that the entire healthcare system is in a moment in which it's necessary to move from evaluating drugs, not only for the power of the formulation or the performances of the formulation itself, but really moving towards the health outcomes that are a result of that treatment. And this is a radical shift because it implies that you cannot, as a pharma company, you cannot control your own outcome in an autonomous way, but in each one of those steps that move from the treatment to the outcome, there is a much more complex ecosystem of stakeholders that gets into play. And so into this change, there is a transformation from product focus to service focus in order to really drive the ultimate outcome that you are expecting. And there is an additional complexity that is the transformation of the audience as well, where our customers and our healthcare professionals are taking much more consciousness of this shift themselves, becoming active players into the decision making. So pharma companies, we heard today many, and yesterday as well, many stories about the transformation of the way in which we think about formulations, going to this space of beyond treatment in order to really sustain the value that is created from the moment of launch in the moment in which things go off patent. And there is a big belief that actually the connected solutions that will accompany the treatment are going to be generating value, a value that could be equivalent, if not larger, than the one of the product, the formulations themselves. This is critical, as it was said before, to create those additional drivers for preference of a brand versus another brand in the moment in which those are getting to market. So what is happening is that the pharma companies are adopting customer experience methods to the care pathway in order to understand how they can shift from a focus that is the focus just on the specific performances of the treatment to a focus that is a focus on reaching the goals on the holistic care. This is about focusing in order to create solutions that are maximizing the way in which the patients are adherent to the treatment, capitalizing on connected services and delivery of point information in order to help them into their behavior of remaining adherent to the product and continuously adjusting it. Is about expanding the scope of responsibility to talk about effectiveness. So what are complementary interventions to the treatment that can be put in place in order to ensure that that treatment is actually best performing? And this is about mental health in oncology, for example, just as an aspect of it. And lastly, is also about understanding what role pharma companies could play into a broader holistic care journey, which is the one in which the patient is put in connection with the broader support network that exists around them. Some of those have a very direct impact on the sales. Think of adherence. I mean, adherence, we all know, is difficult to crack, but is the one that has a direct impact on the sales in the moment of patent. But it's also about secondary influence, like driving preference in the moment of prescription. At Frog, we have been working into this space since many years. My first project at Frog was in 2010, when Novartis had participated to Proteus. Maybe some of you are too young to remember that, but Proteus was creating this smart pill that was enabling to have an objective tracking of your intake of the pill through a patch on your skin. And starting from this technology, there was this big idea that you could create exchange of data and objective assessment of patients through the journey of care. So we started together with them, that was 2010, interfaces done in Photoshop pixel by pixel, just for the ones that remember that. But it was one of the first cases in which we were trying to put together a service around the traditional molecule. It was too early, 2010. Novartis at the time didn't have any metric to understand how you could evaluate the impact of something that is so different from the traditional business. And I must say, probably, the struggle still exists and is not fully cracked while we are a little bit improving. up to kind of things that are much more recent, but very interesting in terms of this aspect of effectiveness, which is leveraging novel digital behavioral biomarkers in order to track how patients are reacting to treatment. In that case, it's about mental health, to understand when is the right moment to adjust treatment or when is necessary to start a treatment in a context of comorbidity on main diseases. Some companies have cracked this mechanism in a way that is very tangible and very directly linked to metrics that are relevant to pharma as well. Just speaking a couple of examples in this slide, but Propeller Health, that I assume probably many of you know, this kind of asthma inhaler that are connected so that you can really track the moments, not only the number of time that people are doing, but really the moment and the place where this is happening, is enabling through this tracking system and the connection with the healthcare professionals that is treating the patient to drive up adherence up to more than 50%. On the other side, MoveCare, which is one of, I really love it for its simplicity, is a platform that is enabling patients that are in an oncology journey for the lung cancer to provide patient-reported outcome in a very, very simple message-like way in between one check with the healthcare professional and the other, so that any deviation from what is expected to be the normal recovery and healthy path could be tracked, so that you can then have a sooner visit with the doctor that is enabling you to remain and be addressed. And the outcome is that you could extend survival of patients on average by 7 months, which also has a direct impact on the sales volume of the drug that those patients are on. So there are companies that are starting to crack this mechanism, often still outside of the pharma context, as a proof that there is a need for agility and a need for agnosticity, if you could use that term, but definitely good hints on what could be a direction where to go when we start thinking of shifting from the pure treatment to the health outcomes around. What is critical in this shift and in this transformation when we start thinking about what does a good service mean, why a good service is meaningful and will drive value on both parts, is really understanding what are the reasons why. What are the drivers? What are the needs? What are the blockers? What are the social determinants that are influencing the different actors to be part or not be part, adopt or not adopt this service? And this is about requiring a rigorous approach to understanding this ecosystem made of the patient. We made some progress into that. I think that in the words of the pharma companies as well, we speak more about talking to patients, even if very few really practice that in a systematic way. But it's also about the entire ecosystem around them. The caregivers, the social network on the social side is about the KOLs and the various medical associations on the other side. So understanding which are the actors that case by case play a role and in which moment of the care pathway, and what are the reason why and the value exchange for each one of them is of critical importance. And in particular, and here we make the switch, the relationship of the patient and the healthcare professional is the one that needs to be considered at the very core for the success of the service initiatives. So if we switch the perspective and we try to look at the healthcare professionals, the healthcare professional really play a critical role in the patient empowerment, and therefore of kind of getting the return of investment in all this kind of digital solution that we are putting out to market. COVID helped. They are becoming more curious. Most of them, because they find value in that, adopted the teleconsultation, are starting to learn about digital therapeutics, but not usually very much convinced, because there are many blockers for them. They need to understand the value that this is bringing to the patients, first of all, but they need to understand the implications for them. From a regulatory perspective, what will they be accountable for? What will be the cost of care? What will be aspects related to the patient safety that needs to be considered? So shifting the perspective to the healthcare professionals is really enabling us to crack that engine that is enabling us to gain the most value. And understanding healthcare professionals means understanding them as human first, not only as part of the ecosystem, who they are, why they work, what are their ambitions, in which context they work, what's their practice, what's their learning journey, what is their growth plan and ambition. Each one of those elements, as it is for us as patients or us as humans, also them have all of those as drivers in their journey. And if we look at them, their life is much complex. The interaction with the patient is just a little bit of their time. They have, if we are in kind of European countries, it's 7 minutes per patient. If you go to India, it's almost half of that, the time that they spend with a patient. So everything that we can do, switching the perspective to simplify their life, help them secure the best health outcomes for the patient, but also help them around that, manage their practice, be more efficient, save the time while remaining effective, optimizing the cost of care, and continuously growing by learning. If we focus on healthcare professionals, we can crack this part of the journey better, adherence, holistic care, and effectiveness, but we can also start impacting on other parts of the journey, which are onboarding and tailoring. It's about helping them to identify and match the right patient with the right treatment and potentially helping them consider the different alternatives that they have that sometimes they don't even have full visibility on. So there is just one story that I want to mention. I plan to have more, but there's too much content for today. And it's a story in which I want to flag. There is Andrew from AstraZeneca that I believe is a very interesting story when we start talking about the service as an approach to engage healthcare professionals that has a direct value to the pharma companies. AstraZeneca, we had the opportunity to collaborate with them in this amazing product that is now in the market, which is a decision support tool, Refer ID, that is enabling doctors, especially at primary care, to identify and better refer the patients with asthma. Today, asthma, 300 million, probably people suffering from asthma, 30 million are in severe asthma condition, usually is not treated, is mistreated, is untreated, and this has an impact both in terms of people that you could actually treat, even if not cure, and also people that go to the emergency care because they are in moments of crisis that you could actually alleviate significantly with just a simple treatment. So we worked with AstraZeneca to understand how this process could be made better and how leveraging digital mediated tools, we can provide a more structured decision support to healthcare professionals to decide what is the best treatment. We interviewed more than 50 healthcare professionals globally. We created proof of concept, iterated the algorithm together with the guy in St. Thomas KOLs that were scripting this algorithm, iterated, refined, and tested. And nowadays, this is live in 30 countries, translated in more than 24 languages, and is running studies in order to understand how it's perceived, the use of this versus the traditional approach. Why this is relevant? This is relevant because it's creating great adoptions from the doctors because it's solving a problem for them. It's helping us to address a pain in the population, reducing the cost of care by reducing the access at the emergency care, but it's also helping not only AstraZeneca, all the pharma companies in the space to increase the total number of prescriptions by more people being treated for a disease that is treatable, but not today identified. So I believe it's just an example of how really switching the perspective and adopting a service-driven mindset also from the healthcare professional can help us unlock new value that is now really there on the table and ready to be tapped into. It's super difficult because it's a shift. It's a shift that moves from thinking of a product to thinking of a service, identifying the right value, mobilizing different parts of the organization to deliver on it, helping these different parts of the organization to get together, but also designing operations that are completely different from the product operation. Operating a service is a radically different thing that selling a pill. So it's a radical change. It's a radical change that has a lot of benefit on the other side. So it's worth embracing the journey while it's complex. We'll be very happy to help you on that journey. And I don't know if anyone has questions, even if perfect 20 minutes. Amazing. Thank you. No questions. Thank you.